I'm coming at you live on tape from Sydney, Ohio. And today we're talking about the ribs, which those of you who don't know what ribs mean, they mean pranks of Owen Hart. Now we're going to go on a little sidebar here and tell you how I got to this video. Originally, I was going to do the death of Owen Hart. And I was doing research on that, and it was depressing the hell out of me. And I liked Owen Hart, and it was depressing me to look at his death. And then I thought, Owen Hart wouldn't want to be remembered for his death, which is how most people remember him. He'd want to be remembered for something good, like his family. But I can't interview his family because this show has a budget of $0.00 negative $1. So then I thought, what else would he want to be remembered for? He thought of wrestling as a career, so we're not going to look at his best matches because he really didn't think of wrestling as this great thing he did. He thought of it as a way to make money. But then I thought he really liked to have fun and have a good time. So I thought, well, we'll do his best ribs or pranks. Not really the best, just all that I could find on the internet without buying the book, The 150 Best Pranks of Owen Hart, which I couldn't memorize the entirety of in time for this video in a weekend, even if I did buy it. So we're going to start off on one we've all heard. When he was wrestling Bret one time, his brother Bret Hart, Owen somehow managed to get his hand in a can of sardines during the match, and then locked Bret into a camel clutch, and stuck the hand into Bret's face, making him smell the fish, and the fish on his hand. Because that's just the kind of shit Owen would do. He was also known for going out and wrestling a bad match every once in a while just to entertain himself. Now, during the hog pen match, at one point, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who later became Triple H, but this time he was being the Connecticut Blue Blood, was wrestling Henry O. Godwin in a hog pen match, and Vince brought in real pigs for the match. Now, when the farmer wanted to know where to put the pigs, Owen showed him in Vince McMahon's office. Vince McMahon saw the joke, luckily, and did not demand Owen clean up the pig shit. Now, when the wrestlers would all go to St. Louis, they'd go to Harley Race's house for a chili cook-off, for fresh chili, because Harley would feed them all. Harley Race being a generous guy. Now, Owen, being Owen, put 3 bottles of Insanity hot sauce, man, I miss that stuff, I used to eat it all the time, into the chili, and all the wrestlers, except Owen, were freaking out and trying to turn down the heat in their mouth. Well, when Harley Race looked over at Owen and seeing he wasn't the only one not doing it, he figured Owen got them. So the next night, when they were wrestling, Harley Race came in with a stun gun and got Owen right between the cheeks. The butt cheeks, that is. One time, Owen was wrestling D'Lo Brown, who was nervous about wrestling Owen. And so, when they tied up, Owen told D'Lo to look down, and D'Lo's one shoe was untied. So D'Lo tied up, and then they locked up again. And Owen told D'Lo to look down, and his other shoe was untied. So then they locked up again. Owen told D'Lo to look down a third time, and the ref's shoes were untied. So Owen apparently liked to untie shoelaces. And then Owen locked up with him another time and said, D'Lo, are you calm down now? Can we wrestle? Also, when Owen, British Bulldog, and Lex Luger were in WWE, they were known as a tag team called the Allied Powers. Now, Owen at the time was teaming with Yokozuna, which, by the way, I made Owen and Yokozuna a tag team in the one wrestling game. I had a Yokozuna was in it, and I downloaded Owen as a created character, and they were unstoppable. But that is off topic. I think it was WWE 2K14 or something like that. The one with all the WrestleMania stars in it. But that is off topic. But anyways, so when the Allied powers would wrestle Owen and Yokozuna, Owen would easily cooperate with Davey Boy when he lifted him up in a body press slam. But when Lex Luger went to lift Owen up, Owen would go dead weight, making it very hard for Lex to lift him up. And then when Davey Boy, the British Bulldog, went to lift him up, Owen would easily cooperate, and Davey Boy would look over at Lex and go, "You see how it's done?" Also, another good one with Owen and Davey Boy and Lex was, at one point, Owen and Davey Boy and Lex were traveling together. And Davey Boy and Owen became friends with these two undercover cops. And they convinced Lex that the two lights shining in the back behind them was Shawn Michaels playing a prank. So Lex took off, trying to outrun him, and then when the siren went off, it convinced him to stop. Now, at this point, the cops came over and started berating Lex. Now, when the cops went away to run Lex's information, Davey Boy yelled, "Blow it out your ass." Cops came back. Owen yelled, "It was Lex." So Lex was handcuffed and being taken away by the cops, and he thought this was all a prank by Shawn Michaels. So he stopped Davey Boy from defending him, all while Vince McMahon looked on from his limousine. Now, another prank he did, which this was one where he kind of ribbed himself at the same time. He was traveling with Hakushi, and they turned the heat up to 99, the highest they would go in the car, and kept all the windows rolled up. And Hakushi couldn't speak English. And then they picked up this hitchhiker, and they told the hitchhiker, "I'm sorry, our friend has a rare disease. His body temperature has to be held at a constant 95. So the hitchhiker's like feeling the heat and sweating it out. And Akushi's like, I need air, the best he can mumble in English, trying to roll the window down. And they're like playing the hitchhiker and Hakushi off each other. Because he's Owen. Now, when he first met Matt Hardy, who was originally a jobber in WWF, him and Jeff were jobbers in WWF in the mid and early 90s, before they became the Hardy Boys, became a big deal. He was going to wrestle him at a show. And he told Matt, I've got this. He laid a big tarp out and told Matt, "I've got this thing I want you to do that's going to be really fun for the fans." So he put him on all fours in the middle of the tarp. And he said, "I want you to scoot this way toward the ropes, and then I'll bring you back. Then turn 90 degrees and scoot that way toward the ropes, all on this tarp, and then I'll bring you back. And then scoot 90 degrees, and then I'll bring you back, on your knees." So Matt was doing this over and over again, and Owen said, "Keep trying, keep trying." And so Matt eventually looked up at Owen and said, "Are you messing with me?" And Owen said, "Yes, what took you so long to figure it out?" Now, this is one that Martha Hart shared on the Dark Side of the Ring episode about Owen. Her and Owen were jogging, and some people were up ahead. So Owen jogged ahead to the people and yelled, "No, I will not date you for the last time." Because he's Owen. He even pranked Martha. Now, this is one he pulled on Stu. He pulled a few on Stu. But I'm going to go over the Stu ones here real quick. First one he pulled on Stu is Owen, Stu, and Brett were in town, traveling together for a show and staying in the same hotel room. And Owen went downstairs and called Stu up and pretended to be Stu's old enemy, Reggie Parks, challenging Stu to a fight. And Stu hung up. He was all irate. And then he realized Owen got him. Now, another one he pulled on Stu was during the Shawn Michaels Davey Boy Smith feud that Davey Boy Smith's wife Diana was in the middle of. And Stu was concerned about how they're portraying Diana on TV because Diana Hart was his daughter. And so he called Jim Cornette. Now, Bruce Pritchard does a dead-on Stu Hart impression. And Owen convinced Jim that it was Bruce Pritchard. So Jim's giving him all this hard time and all this other stuff. And then Bruce and Brett walk in. So Jim then has to be all apologetic to Stu. It's hilarious. What he pulled on Ahmed Johnson was him, and he convinced Ahmed Johnson, he called him and convinced him he was from The Tonight Show and that Ahmed was being booked on The Tonight Show. Ahmed Johnson was never a big enough... you don't know about Ahmed Johnson. He was never a big enough star to be on The Tonight Show. He was barely a big enough star to be on a radio show. So Ahmed Johnson spent $4,000 on new clothes to go on The Tonight Show, and then was out waiting for his limo when Owen and Davey walked up and said, "Aren't you worried that the limo is late?" And that's when Ahmed realized he had been gotten by Owen. I'm trying to think. I know there's more. Oh, here's one he got by Val Venus. Val Venus came to a hotel one night after show and came to sign autographs, and this dark greasy haired guy came up with like a stack of pictures he wanted signed. And Val's like, if I'm going to sign all those, you're going to have to pay me some kind of money. And then he was signing stuff for the kids and stuff, and then he went up to his hotel room because he was beat. And so he got a phone call from this deep voice fella saying, "You agreed to sign this stuff. I expect you to come back down and sign it." So Val Venus was pissed and hung up the phone. Then a few minutes later, he got the same phone call saying, "I'm a big guy. Don't mess with me. You agreed to sign this stuff." So Val Venus rushed down in the hotel lobby, and there was only Owen and Jeff Jarrett there. And Val Venus asked if they'd seen this greasy hair guy. And he's not sure which one answered him, Owen or Jeff, but one of them said that they'd seen him in a parking lot. So Val rushed out to the parking lot but didn't see anybody. Now, about 6 months later, when Val Venus and Edge was on the record, whatever it's called, Edge got a phone call from Owen, and he revealed that it was Owen calling him up. Let's see if there are any good ones other than that. I can't think of any more, but I'm sure there are more. A lot more. So I hope this brightened your day and made you think of Owen in a good way and not just about his death.